Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I can feel the heat on my back, and I don't want to sit here for very long, so I won't be long. I would just say though that I thought I heard Bhakti Purushottam Maharaj utter the words, even if Ambarish Prabhu is a billionaire. I just want to reassure you that he is not a billionaire. Okay. This of course is the anniversary of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's disappearance, and in that sense a very significant date. We often hear the phrase, impossible is not a word in the Vaishnava's dictionary, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur made many predictions, but three famous predictions. One was that Asenapati Bhakta would soon manifest, and of course that happened in the form of both Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, but also our Srila Prabhupada, that the holy name would be spread throughout the whole world, and that fair-skinned human beings would come to Sridham Mayapur and chant Jai Sachinandan, Jai Sachinandan. As you can see, two of the speakers today have their floppy hats on. Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj, and I'm following in his lotus footsteps, or his lotus head steps. And the reason we're doing that is because we have very fair skin. And I remember the first time as a young person coming to Mayapur, the very first time I came, I went out on Pradakram, and it was during the morning time. I think we left just after breakfast, and we were out till lunchtime. So the bright sunshine, and I wore no hat. I had a fresh shaved head and I wore no hat. The next day I had blisters all over my head. So definitely fair-skinned people are now coming back. Thakur's predictions have come true. When he made those predictions, there was actually a lot of criticism, cynicism about them from many quarters, because it seemed an impossible thing. But as I said, impossible is not a word in the Vaishnava's dictionary. So I just wanted to leave us with that thought, that nothing is impossible, and obviously nothing is impossible with the mercy of the previous acharyas supporting the service that we're trying to do. Etam vibhutam yogam cha, Krishna tells us in the Bhagavad Gita, that it's only through lack of faith in Krishna and who he actually is that something becomes impossible. But as long as we have that faith in Krishna and who he is, then nothing is actually impossible. So, I'll finish with a very quick little story, spinning back to the start, if you like, of Gaudiya Vaishnavism being revived on the planet, and particularly here in West Bengal, which, as I understand it, Jagannath Das Babaji, the spiritual master of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, was really the pioneer of that, of the resurrection of Gaudiya Vaishnavism after it had kind of run into trouble since Lord Chaitanya's disappearance. Around that same time, and this again is focusing on the point that nothing is impossible, around that same time there was a gentleman who was born in England, in a place called Salford, which is in Greater Manchester. I see one UK devotee there just in front of me who will know Salford, Manchester well. Salford, Manchester, even today, is a very dreary place, and you would never give a class outside in Salford, Manchester. You would never do that. So, the person who took birth there was a person called William Cowherd. What a wonderful name, Cowherd. That was his name, William Cowherd. Now, William Cowherd started a chapel, a Christian chapel. Unfortunately, the chapel was called Beefsteak Chapel. That was the name of his chapel, Beefsteak Chapel. But he started this chapel in Salford, Manchester. However, he had one fundamental condition if you wanted to be a member of his church, or if you wanted to be a member of his congregation. Absolutely fundamental condition that you had to sign if you wanted to be part of his church, part of his congregation. And that condition was that you had to be a vegetarian. This was in the the crossing over period of the 1700s into the 1800s. We're talking 250 years ago. This is pre-Victorian Britain, where people were so much more degraded than they are today. Yet this gentleman, and he had a connection, this is the amazing thing, through a Swedish religious person, he had a connection with the East India Company that was traveling to India at that time and also to Bengal. that some friend who traveled on some of those expeditions or those business arrangements had met some people in West Bengal who had convinced him to be a vegetarian for all of the reasons that we are vegetarian, all the reasons of compassion, etc., etc., and to develop our spiritual life. So he came back with that message. William Cowherd in the Beefsteak Chapel took that message and he said, right, I'm going to make it a condition of you being a member of my congregation. It was so unpopular that whenever a person in his congregation died, even if they were 100 years old, the local newspapers would print front page articles saying, just see, this rascal William Cowherd, his congregation are dying because he's making them be vegetarian. He had an incredible opposition against him. 250 years ago in Britain, can you imagine? Marge was saying that if you go on the streets of New York, they'll say, who are you, what are you? That's 2014, 2013, this is 250 years ago, and all of the establishment was against William Cowherd. But he stuck to his principles, and he established the Vegetarian Society in Britain. And the statistics show that by the time he left his body, there were more vegetarian establishments in the UK than actually there are today. So this was a man completely on his own, with no support, no association, establishing that principle that of course is a very basic principle of Gaudiya Vaishnava life and culture, we understand that. But in the circumstances and in the context, it was an incredible achievement. But that does have a connection back to the revival of Gaudiya Vaishnavism in Bengal during Jagannath Das Babaji's time. So, in terms of nothing is impossible, and you see this temple behind us, in many respects, of course, it was predicted by Lord Nityananda, further endorsed by the previous acharyas. But as Marsh said, so far, in terms of actually putting the bricks together and the foundation in and seeing what you see, has essentially been the effort of practically one person, and that is Ambarish Prabhu. So all glories to Ambarish Prabhu in his service to Prabhupada, because he said to Prabhupada asked him and he said he would do his very, very best to fulfill Prabhupada's wish that this temple be manifest during Ambarish's lifetime. Ambarish also is no spring chicken. He now is also in his 60s, so we don't know how long more he has left. So I just would urge you all, not as Marsh said, that we're going to go around with our floppy hats now after the talk and see what you can put in them. No, not like that at all. But that you join and be part of Bhaktivinoda, Lord Nityananda's team, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's team, and Srila Prabhupada's team. Whether it be that you make a contribution, whether it be that you encourage other people, whether it be that you come up with ideas as how to do it, or whether it simply be that you pray that this temple manifests as soon as possible within Ambarish Prabhu's lifetime, within all of our lifetime. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada, yay! I should just mention that as part of this festival, those devotees who are specifically assigned with the service of trying to raise Lakshmi, those devotees had a golden brick campaign, just to let you know. They have sold 800 bricks during the festival, which translates to 1.3 million US. So all glories to those devotees for achieving that. But as you go back to your home countries, just remember that that represents about 1/60th of what is needed to complete. So there's still lots of work to do and lots of service for us all to get involved in. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.